welcome back to Coach's Corner. Boy, it has truly been a minute since I've done one of these. So Miss Maisie, of course, she's on her perch. Let's just hope she cooperates and does not bark if she sees anything, because she barks at everything. And then I've got Lucy down here sweating me, wanting me to pet her. So we're going to try to get through this. Okay, so I titled this Training My Brain for a Strong Restart. All right, so if y'all watched my What I Eat in a Day this past week, I explained to y'all that I'm restarting. I'm going back on the 5 and 1. So I've got a little information to share with y'all that I think will help anybody that's on the journey of weight loss and improving their health in any way. Whether you're doing Optavia or you're doing something else, I think this is great advice. All right, it comes from 2 sources. I cannot take credit for either of these things. I'm just sharing them with y'all. And they've really helped me this week. All right, the first one, a little thing that made me just really stop and really think. What I'm gonna say is gonna come from 3 sources. All right, so the first thing is, I was listening to a video of Doug Wood. Doug Wood is an Optavia coach. If you're on the journey with Optavia, you may have heard of him, you may know who he is, but he's a really incredible coach with Optavia. And I was listening to one of his community lives. Most of us are involved in like Facebook group pages, and once a week somebody will go live in there. And I think that's where this came from. I'm not really sure. I found it on YouTube, to be quite honest. But what he talked about a lot of things. He talked about having a firm program, a good solid program where you're not ishing it, okay? But then he ended it with 3 questions. The first question was, what do you want? Now, Dr. Anderson asks these questions in his book, The Habits of Health, right up front. But Doug says, what do you want? And we ask that as coaches when we're talking to potential clients. That's one of the first things I ask is, so what are you wanting to accomplish? What are your goals? Okay? And then the second question is why? We also ask that question as coaches. Why? Why do you want it? And when you hear us talking about your why, having a strong why, that's where that comes from, because it's one thing to know you want to lose weight. Everybody wants to lose weight that needs to lose weight. But it's really important to know why you want to lose weight. And I've always known that, and I've talked about that before on here. But then he asked a third question, and this was the one that got me, y'all. He said, what are you willing to do to get there? So what do you want? I want to get back to my healthy weight. I want to walk the El Camino. We talked about that. I want to be strong. I want to control my diabetes through diet and lifestyle, not medication. There's a lot of things I want. I want to be active for my grandchildren. Why do you want that? Because I want to have a good quality of life. I want to be there for my family. I want to live my life instead of sitting on the sidelines. So I've got all that, y'all. I want to get in control of my food addictions. I don't want food to have control over me. Those are all my wants and my whys. Then the third question, what are you willing to do to get that? That one stopped me dead in my tracks, y'all. Because that's where the rubber meets the road. We can want all day long, and we can even know why we want it. But what are we willing to do to get there? So that question lingered over me for a day. And then I happened upon one of my favorite vloggers on YouTube, Susan Pierce Thompson, and she was talking about, it was titled Not an Option. And I've shared with y'all before, if you've watched any of my Coach's Corners, I've mentioned her and given her credit for a lot of things because I think she's incredible. She's a neuroscientist. She's a professor. She's, I think, a PhD. I don't even know what all of her credentials are, but she's brilliant. I can just tell you that. She's brilliant, and she's real. And she knows what she's talking about, not just because she's got a lot of titles behind her name, but because she's lived it. And so when she talks, I listen. And what she talked about was, and this just followed so perfectly with what I'd heard with Doug, she said, she was talking to someone about, this person was saying, even when I write down what I'm going to eat the next day, even when I plan ahead and I've got a plan, that I'm following a program or whatever, every day I still have to make that choice. Every day it's still a matter of willpower. I can know that today I'm going to use Optavia 5-in-1. I'll use the 5-in-1 as my example as I talk. I can know every day that I'm going to eat these 5 fuelings, and I can plan my lean and green. But as I go through the day, I still have to choose to do that. I'm still constantly having to say no to that break room food, or no to the pizza at the party, or no to the birthday cake, or whatever. So planning ahead, having a program, writing it down, committing it to a coach, any of those things, yeah, those are good practices, but I still have to choose. And this was what somebody was saying to her. This is what she said, y'all. Because when she was saying that, I was like, yeah, exactly. And then she said, that's because your brain is still suggesting to you that you eat those things. She said, you've not trained your brain to not suggest those things. And so, she got my attention there. I'm like, train your brain? How do we train our brain? Okay, well, this is how we train our brain. We don't give in to those suggestions, because I knew it was going to happen. She went flying off, y'all. Okay. So we don't give into those suggestions. So here's how it works. So we don't do anything that our brain doesn't suggest. But just because our brain suggests something doesn't mean we have to do it. You with me on this? So our brain may suggest, we're going to the movies. Our brain may suggest, eat the popcorn. Oh yeah, you want to have some popcorn. You can't go to a movie theater and not have popcorn. But just because it's suggesting it doesn't mean we have to do it. We can actually say no to that suggestion. We're actually the ones in control, y'all, believe it or not. So what she basically said is, if you are giving in to that suggestion, because your brain suggests things based on past behavior. So if you're somebody that, and it doesn't matter, like I said at the beginning of this, I'm a coach for Optavia, so my clients, that's what they're doing. So if you guys are my clients and y'all are hearing this, apply this to Optavia. But if you're somebody that just happened upon this and you're doing something else, you can apply the same thing. So just because your brain suggests it doesn't mean you have to do it. And your brain suggests things based on past behavior. So if you are somebody that continually chooses, gives in, falls into temptation, however you want to say it, to eating off your food plan, your nutrition plan, then you're training your brain to suggest that over and over. And by doing that, you're making it so much harder on yourself. So much harder, because yes, if your brain is continually suggesting it, you're continually having to stop. To use Dr. A's, method here, you're having to continually stop, challenge, and choose, which you can do. But guess what happens? The more you say no to those temptations, your brain quits suggesting it. This is Addiction 101. When Scott quit dipping a couple years ago, 2 years is Father's Day. 2 years, tomorrow. I'm filming this on Saturday. It's gonna be his 2-year anniversary. Oh, he's over there going 3. That's right, 3 years. 3 years, oh my gosh, that flew by. He's standing over there, he went 3. So 3 years ago, Scott gave up tobacco. It was a 40-year addiction, y'all. It was a pretty strong addiction. I've lived with him for 33 years, and I can tell you, it was a pretty strong addiction. And he gave it up. He gave it up cold turkey. Now, I can tell you, for a while, his brain was still suggesting that he used tobacco. And the way he trained his brain to quit suggesting it, because it finally did, y'all, it quit suggesting it. Now he's not faced with, it never occurs to him to use tobacco. That's because he was consistent in telling his brain no. I know that's been my past behavior, but I'm not doing that anymore. And he just, no. And it got easier and easier to say no. And his brain suggested it less and less, to the point where it suggested it no more. Well, guess what? Food's the same way. habits are habits. And if your habit has been to stay strong on your plan, unless you're on vacation, unless you go to a party, unless you go out to eat, unless you have a bad day and you just need to feel better, unless. The more you do that, y'all, the more your brain is going to suggest to you to do it, and the harder it is. So this is my coach's corner. This is it. So simple. There it is. But y'all, something so simple has made my week so much better. This was week 1 for me on Restart, and I can tell you, Restart, if there's anybody out there that's doing a restart, restarts are hard. Starting a new program is hard, period, but restarts are really hard. They're really hard. I'm not really sure the science behind why they're so much harder, but they are. So if that's you, I want you to start training your brain. What Susan said in that vlog was, she said it's possible. She gave me hope, because I had pretty much kind of thought, oh, I'm just gonna have to just plow through. I didn't think it would ever go away. And that was stupid of me, actually, y'all, because in 2019 when I lost the weight, it did. That suggestion did go away finally. And so I've actually experienced that with food, so I know I can experience it again. But I guess I had forgotten, and I didn't really hear it said to me in that particular way. And so what she said was, how do you get a brain that quits suggesting that you eat the cake? You train it, you earn it. So that's what I'm doing, y'all. I hope y'all will too. Reach out if you have any questions about what I've shared with you guys. If you want to know more about any of the people I talked about, reach out to me as well. And I think that's all I got, you guys. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Y'all be blessed. You stay safe and stay well, and I'll see you next time. I'm out.